The involvement of the Yoruba in the Nigerian Civil War 1967-1970, commonly referred to as the Biafran War, was influenced by several political, ethnic, and strategic factors. The Yoruba leadership, particularly under Obafemi Awolowo, aligned with the federal government led by General Yakubu Gowon. Awolowo, a prominent Yoruba leader, served as the vice chairman of the Federal Executive Council and Federal Commissioner of Finance. His influence and support were crucial for the federal government's war effort. Many Yoruba leaders believed in the preservation of a united Nigeria and viewed the secession of Biafra as a threat to this unity. They were concerned that allowing Biafra to secede could lead to further fragmentation of the country along ethnic lines. The Yoruba and the Igbo had historical rivalries and competition for political and economic dominance within Nigeria. These rivalries were exacerbated by the events leading up to the war, including the coups of 1966 and the subsequent ethnic tensions. Fear of Igbo dominance. There was a perception among some Yoruba leaders that an independent Biafra could lead to Igbo dominance in the region, which could threaten the interests of other ethnic groups, including the Yoruba. Resource control, the control of resources, particularly oil, was a significant factor. The oil-rich regions were largely within the territories claimed by Biafra. The federal government, supported by the Yoruba, was keen to maintain control over these resources to ensure the economic stability and viability of Nigeria. The Yoruba-dominated western region was strategically important for the federal government's military campaign. The region provided a crucial base for launching military operations against Biafra. Yoruba support for the federal government thus had a significant impact on the overall strategy and logistics of the war. The Nigerian military and political landscape was characterized by a delicate balance of power among different ethnic groups. Yoruba support for the federal government helped to maintain this balance and prevent the dominance of any single ethnic group, particularly in the context of the conflict with the Igbo.
Had Ojimegwu Ojukwu chosen to kill or further detain Obafemi Awolowo in Calabar prison,
the consequences would have likely been severe and multifaceted, affecting both the Nigerian Civil War and the broader political landscape of Nigeria. Here are some potential outcomes, supported by historical context. Yoruba reaction and possible escalation of conflict. Awolowo was a highly respected leader among the Yoruba people, and any harm done to him would have likely provoked a strong backlash from the Yoruba populace. This could have resulted in the western region turning decisively against Biafra, potentially increasing support for the federal government and escalating the conflict. Increased military pressure. The Nigerian federal government might have intensified its military campaign against Biafra in response to an act of aggression against a prominent national figure, thereby worsening the already devastating civil war. Loss of political legitimacy. Internal and external perceptions. Biafra's claim to moral high ground and its efforts to garner international sympathy would have been severely undermined. The killing or continued detention of a prominent political figure like Awolowo would likely have been viewed as an act of tyranny, damaging Biafra's international reputation. Impact on alliances. Within Nigeria, other ethnic groups and political factions might have been less inclined to support or sympathize with Biafra, viewing Ojukwu's actions as extreme and unjust. Humanitarian and ethical backlash. Global outcry. The international community, including human rights organizations and foreign governments, would likely have condemned such an act. Historical examples include global reactions to similar actions in other conflicts, where the mistreatment of political prisoners led to widespread condemnation and increased support for the opposing side. Biafra could have faced increased diplomatic isolation, with fewer countries willing to recognize or support its cause. This would have further strained its already limited resources and capacity to sustain the war effort. Strengthening of the federal government. The federal government might have been able to use Awolowo's death or prolonged detention to rally various factions within Nigeria, including those previously ambivalent or hostile to the central government, by portraying Ojukwu and Biafra as a common enemy. Historical facts suggest that any harm to Awolowo would have likely intensified ethnic tensions, undermined Biafra's legitimacy, provoked humanitarian outcry, and possibly unified Nigeria's various factions against Biafra. In summary, the Yoruba involvement in the Nigerian civil war against Biafra was driven by a combination of political alliances, historical rivalries, economic interests, strategic considerations, and the desire to maintain a balance of power within a united Nigeria. Subscribe for more.